Listen closely. Do you hear it? That pulse under your skin, that quiet vibration in the back of your mind, the one that's been whispering to you since long before you had the words to understand it. The one that kept saying you're not like them. The one that told you they'd never be able to handle you if they ever got close enough to feel what you really are. But then the world came along, wrapped its cold hands around your fire, and tried to force you into a shape that wasn't meant for you. Stay in your lane, they said. Don't push too far. Don't step too deep. Don't show too much. Oh, they wanted you controlled, contained, predictable, because if you ever stopped holding back, if you ever let even a fraction of your real power slip through the cracks, they knew things would break that could never be put back together. They wanted you tame for a reason, because your untamed self is lethal to their illusions. They convinced you that you were ordinary, another pair of hands in their machine, another voice they didn't have to fear. But tell me, have you ever felt that spark under your ribs, that pressure in your chest, that strange electric tension crawling up your spine when you're around people who underestimate you? That's not anxiety. That's not insecurity. That is power trying to push its way through your polite surface. That is instinct sharpening itself on the bones of every moment they tried to suppress you. They spent years pouring water over your fire, silencing your instincts, smothering your intuition with doubt, because they sensed something in you you never learned to sense in yourself. Something raw, something untamed, something that would rewrite the entire dynamic if you ever let it breathe. And the best part? They feel it anyway. Even when you're quiet, even when you're holding back, even when you don't understand why people react to you the way they do. Oh, you've seen it, haven't you? The way their eyes flicker the moment you lock on to them, the way their posture shifts when you walk in, the way their voice tightens. By a degree they hope you don't notice. They try to cover it, try to smile through it, try to pretend you don't unsteady something deep inside them. But they can't hide instinct. Their bodies betray truth long before their mouths do. Something about you shakes the foundation of their illusion of control, because they feel what you haven't fully grasped yet. You are dangerous in ways they don't have language for. It's not your words. It's not your behavior. It's not even your choices. It's your existence, the way you move without asking, the way you think without permission, the way you stand without shrinking. You don't fit the mold, the pattern, the expectation. They watch you the way people watch storms on the horizon, beautiful, unpredictable, and capable of destroying whatever isn't built strong enough to withstand truth. They can't categorize you. They can't predict you. They can't bind you into the narrative they use to control everyone else. And what people cannot control, they fear. Not because you're violent, not because you're loud, not because you threaten them with force. No, that would be too simple. They fear you because you cannot be owned. Because you carry a freedom that exposes their captivity. Because you don't need their approval to breathe. That's what terrifies them. That's why they stare too long, then look away too fast. That's why their praise sounds shaky and their criticism sounds desperate. That's why someone got too close to you once. Too emotionally close, too intuitively close, too energetically close. And the moment they brushed against the part of you that isn't afraid, that isn't fragile, that isn't small, something inside them recoiled like their soul touched a live wire. They felt the savage, the one you didn't know you were still carrying, the one you thought you buried under politeness and restraint and being appropriate enough to survive the world they forced on you. But that part of you didn't die. It waited. It sharpened itself silently. It watched. It learned the shape of your strength before you even noticed it was growing. So when they stepped too close, when they tried to read you, control you, analyze you, they felt something ancient rise in you. Not rage, not chaos, but awareness. The kind of awareness that cuts deeper than any blade. The kind of awareness that shows people exactly where their masks are cracking. That's when they felt fear. Not the fear of danger, but the fear of revelation. The fear that you see too much. The fear that you cannot be fooled. The fear that your silence is not emptiness, it is calculation. Weak people don't fear being hurt. They fear being seen. And you, knowingly or not, force people to see themselves. That is why they react the way they react around you. That is why their voice changes. That is why their energy stutters. That is why they keep you at a distance while obsessively watching you at the same time. You are a glitch in the matrix they've built around themselves. A loose thread in their carefully woven safety nets of self-delusion. They built this world for followers, for repeaters, for people who mistake submission for maturity. They built it for minds they can bribe with validation, distract with noise, numb with routine. But you don't fit anywhere in that system. You question, you observe, you peel back layers with a single look. And that makes you a threat even before you ever choose to be one. That's why they want you dull. That's why they want you hesitant. That's why they want you confused about your own strength. Because as long as you don't understand your power, they can pretend it doesn't exist. But the moment you even suspect what you are capable of, the entire game shifts. Once you feel even a fragment of your true force, once you stop bending your nature into shapes meant for smaller people, once you stop apologizing for the way your energy unsettles their comfort, everything changes, and they know it. They know it when you survive something that should have broken you. They know it when you don't flinch at the things that send them spiraling. They know it when you recover faster than they expect. They know it when your silence carries more force than their shouting. They know it when your stillness feels like a storm they cannot predict. They've been studying you longer than you think, not out of admiration, out of caution. Because people who rely on control are always the most afraid of the one person in the room who doesn't need to be controlled. They hide it behind niceness, behind passive compliments, behind shallow curiosity. But you've seen the truth in their eyes. That brief flash of instinct, that primal recognition, that moment they realize you're not one of them and can never be made into one of them. They've tricked you for years, telling you real power sits in status, in money, in titles, in visibility. They told you power is something you earn, but only through them, something you receive, but only with their approval, something you express, but only when they feel comfortable. All a lie, all a brilliant strategy to keep you small while feeding your hunger for acceptance just enough to keep you obedient. Because if you ever stopped needing their approval, their entire illusion would collapse. Real power is not how much you own. It's how little of you can be owned. Real power is not how many people follow you. It's how deeply you know yourself when no one claps. Real power is not in the noise you make. It's in the silence others fear. Your power isn't explosive. It's invasive. It slips under skin. It disarms people without touching them. It exposes the fractures they hide. It reveals their insecurity through their reactions to you. And that makes you untouchable in ways you haven't even begun to understand. You think they avoid you because you're intimidating? No, they avoid you because being around you activates the part of themselves they've been running from. You are the mirror they dread. The reminder of everything they could have been if they hadn't surrendered to weakness. That's why they call you too intense or too much or different. Different is their code word for I cannot handle you. But here's the moment everything shifts. The second you stop believing their words and start reading their reactions instead. The second you realize that every whisper against you is proof of the impact you have. The second you stop minimizing your intuition and start recognizing it as the weapon it has always been. And now you're standing right there, at the edge of the truth they hoped you'd never touch. Because once you step over that edge, once you finally see yourself not through their insecurities, but through your own clarity, something irreversible happens. You can never unsee the power you've been carrying. You can never go back to pretending your presence doesn't alter the temperature of every room. You can never return to a version of yourself that didn't understand why people react to you, with fear disguised as irritation, envy disguised as advice, discomfort disguised as concern. Suddenly you start noticing how their eyes shift before their mouths form words. Suddenly you feel the hesitation in their energy before they even open their mouths. Suddenly you understand that all those strange moments where people treated you like a threat without reason were never misunderstandings. They were instincts, their instincts, reacting to your truth. A truth you're just now waking up to. You start replaying memories, don't you? Moments that never made sense until now. Moments where someone stepped too close to you, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and something in them recoiled. They didn't recoil from you. They recoiled from what they felt inside you. That quiet force, that unshakable calm, that depth that doesn't fit into anyone's expectations. They felt the savage beneath your restraint, the one you didn't unleash intentionally, the one that rises the moment someone tries to control you, belittle you, manipulate you, the one that watches silently, studies quietly, calculates with precision while they think you're just being polite. Somebody got too close once, far closer than they should have, and without meaning to, they brushed against the edge of your real nature. Not the version you show the world, not the version you hide behind, not the version you dilute for the comfort of the weak. No, they touched the version that doesn't bow, doesn't break, doesn't tolerate nonsense. The version of you that recognizes danger before danger recognizes itself. The version that doesn't need to raise its voice to be heard. The version that doesn't need to fight to win. The version that carries a silent authority that cannot be taught, bought, or stolen. The version of you that has survived more than anyone knows. And the moment they felt it, even for a split second, they panicked. Not outwardly, not dramatically. The panic was internal, a sudden tightening in their chest, a flicker in their pupils, a micro shiver in the energy around them. Their instincts realize it's something their mind couldn't process. You are not meant to be touched casually. You are not meant to be understood easily. You are not meant to be handled by those who haven't mastered themselves. People like them cannot hold energy like yours without breaking something in themselves. And you felt it too, didn't you? Not as aggression, not as anger, but as a subtle shift in your core, a tightening, a sharpening, a moment where your intuition stood taller than your body. You didn't change, you remembered, you didn't attack, you revealed. The savage wasn't unleashed in violence, it was unleashed in awareness. The awareness that you don't need to defend yourself to be defended by something older and deeper inside you. The awareness that whatever you are made of cannot be manipulated, cannot be weakened, cannot be controlled. The awareness that your power is not in what you do, but in what you are. And that is why they fear you. Because when you stand in your power, they feel exposed. When you stand in your truth, they feel unstable. When you stop apologizing for your intensity, they start apologizing for their existence. Your presence forces them to confront the version of themselves they've been avoiding. Your power reminds them of everything they surrendered, their ambition, their potential, their courage, their authenticity. You become a mirror they cannot bear to look into, because your strength reflects their weakness. Your clarity dissolves their illusions. Your composure dismantles their superiority. Your energy calls out the lies they tell themselves just to sleep at night. And here's the irony. They keep trying to convince you that you're the problem, that you're too much, that you're intimidating, that you're difficult, that you're intense. But intensity is only overwhelming to those who have none. Power only feels threatening to those who lack it. Depth only feels dangerous to those who are drowning in their own shallowness. What they call too much is exactly what makes you untouchable. What they label as dangerous is exactly what gives you the advantage. What they whisper about as savage is exactly what keeps you from being swallowed by the world that thrives on conformity. And now that you've reached this point, the point where your intuition is louder than their manipulation, where your clarity is sharper than their judgment, where your presence is stronger than their influence, the entire landscape changes. You start seeing how predictable they really are, how fragile their confidence is, how easily their masks crack under pressure. You start noticing the tremor in their voice when they speak to you, the exaggerated warmth in their tone, the sudden attempts to appear confident, knowing your eyes pierce through the act instantly. You start noticing how they adjust themselves around you, straighten their posture, change their tone, monitor their expressions, because your awareness makes them hyper-aware of their own flaws. And that's when you finally understand. The fear they carry is not about what you might do to them. The fear is about what you might see in them, what you might expose without even trying, what truth you might pull from beneath their carefully curated persona. Because your presence doesn't destroy them, it reveals them. And people fear revelation more than danger. You have no idea how powerful you are, but their reactions spell it out. Their discomfort spells it out. Their fascination spells it out. Their envy spells it out. Their silence spells it out. You are the type of person that forces reality to rearrange itself. The type of person that destabilizes illusions without uttering a word. The type of person who carries a gravity other people orbit around, whether they want to or not. And the moment you stop shrinking, the moment you stop doubting, the moment you stop hiding your strength beneath politeness, that gravity becomes undeniable. That's why the world tried so hard to shrink you. Not because you were weak, because you were too strong for their narrative to handle. Not because they didn't see your value, but because they feared what would happen if you saw it. Not because they wanted you small, but because they knew the moment you stepped into your real power, you would no longer fit into their hands, their rules, their limits. And right now, this very moment, you're standing in the doorway of something irreversible, an awakening that cannot be undone. The beginning of a version of you that terrifies anyone still living in fear. The rise of the person you were always meant to become, but were too conditioned to believe you weren't allowed to be. And the wildest part? You haven't even unleashed yourself yet. You've only stopped suppressing. And even that was enough to make them shiver. Because the moment you stop dimming yourself, the world must confront the brightness you've been hiding, the depth you've been minimizing, the power you've been pretending not to feel. And when that power even slightly leaks out, even accidentally, even unconsciously, It hits people in ways they don't understand. It disrupts their emotional equilibrium. It rattles their self-image. It exposes the cracks in their confidence. They feel your presence, the way animals feel a shift in the atmosphere before a storm. Instinctively, involuntarily, without logic or explanation. Their body reacts before their mind can rationalize, and suddenly they're either drawn to you or terrified of you. Sometimes both at the same time. And you've seen it. That look people give you when your mask slips just a little. When your tone sharpens without raising your voice. When your eyes harden without anger. When your energy shifts from passive to inevitable. That's the moment they feel the savage, not a creature of chaos or violence, but the core of you that refuses to be touched, reshaped, or owned by anyone. The part of you carved from fire, not fear. The part that stands unbent in storms designed to break lesser minds. The part that sees through deception with embarrassing ease. The part that survived what was meant to destroy you and came back with knowledge instead of scars. This is the part of you they hoped would never wake. Because once awakened, once recognized, once accepted, it becomes impossible to manipulate you, trick you, belittle you, or intimidate you. People can control someone who doubts themselves. They can't control someone who sees themselves. And that's where the danger begins for them. Not because you are dangerous, but because their entire strategy relied on your blindness. Once you reclaim your vision, their illusions fall apart like cheap fabric. And make no mistake, they feel this shift before you even announce it. They sense your awakening in your silence, in your posture, in the way you no longer entertain nonsense, in the way you observe instead of react, in the way you detach instead of justify, in the way you walk away instead of defend yourself to people who don't deserve explanations. This makes them uneasy because it signals something monumental. You are no longer seeking permission to exist. You are no longer shrinking for their comfort. You are no longer negotiating with your own worth just to be tolerated. And the moment someone who was once underestimated stops negotiating, the power dynamic flips instantly. Suddenly, they're the ones careful with their words. Suddenly, they're the ones overthinking their tone. Suddenly, they're the ones trying not to trigger something in you they can't contain. Suddenly, they're the ones tiptoeing, unsure how to handle the new version of you. But here's the truth. This isn't a new version of you. This is the real version, freed from the expectations that once suffocated you. The version that was always there, waiting behind the walls of doubt and conditioning. The version that knows exactly who it is and what it carries. The version they hoped you would never discover. Because once someone discovers their own power, they stop being useful to those who rely on their weakness.
And that's why people shift around you. That's why they treat you differently now. That's why someone who once felt comfortable trying to control you suddenly feels fragile in your presence. They got too close. They felt something ancient, something sovereign, something uncontainable staring back at them. And it rattled them down to the places they never explore, the places where their own fear lives. You didn't lash out. You didn't attack. You didn't even raise your voice. But your energy sharpened, your awareness locked on, your presence expanded, and for a moment they realized exactly who they were standing in front of. You've had this happen before. Someone pushes the wrong button, says the wrong thing, steps on a boundary they thought was flexible, and suddenly your entire demeanor changes. The room gets still, the temperature shifts, your silence becomes heavy. Your eyes stop being soft and turn into something that sees through flesh and bone. And in that moment,
they understand something they never understood about you before. You are not a surface-level person. You are not someone who reacts emotionally just to react. You are someone who feels deeply, sees sharply, and responds only with purpose. And people fear purpose more than power. Power can be reasoned with. Power can be negotiated with. Power can be redirected. But purpose cannot be swayed. Purpose does not pause. Purpose does not shrink. And when someone feels purpose behind your presence, they know instantly that this is not a person to play with lightly. This is not a person whose boundaries can be tested. This is not a person who will back down because someone raised their voice or threw a tantrum. This is not a person who bows to intimidation, guilt, pressure, or manipulation. You have become someone they cannot mentally dominate. And without mental dominance, most people have nothing. That's why they fear you, even before you understand yourself. That's why they react before you do anything. That's why their instincts warn them before you open your mouth. They can feel the difference between someone who survived life and someone who was shaped by it. They can feel the difference between someone who wants acceptance and someone who wants truth. They can feel the difference between someone who hides and someone who watches. And you watch everything. You pick up micro-expressions. You notice tone shifts. You feel emotional inconsistencies. You read silence like a second language. You catch lies before they're spoken. And this terrifies them because people who read the world too clearly are always treated like threats. Not because they want power, but because they cannot be controlled by falsehood. You make people confront who they really are, and most people hate who they really are. They've spent too long building masks out of fear and insecurity to tolerate someone who sees the cracks without even trying. But here's what they don't understand. Your awakening isn't about proving anything to them. It's not about dominance. It's not about revenge. It's not about retaliation. Your awakening is about alignment, aligning with the force inside you, aligning with the truth you suppressed, aligning with the instincts you were taught to doubt. Your awakening is about remembering who you were before the world convinced you that your power was a problem. And once you remember, nothing can stop what comes next. Because the real danger isn't when you get angry. The real danger isn't when you defend yourself. The real danger isn't when you raise your voice. The real danger is when you go calm, when your spirit goes still, when your eyes stop apologizing, when your energy stops shrinking, when your intuition stops being questioned. That's when the savage in you, the guardian, the fire, the truth, the force steps forward. Not in violence, not in chaos, but in absolute presence. And presence like yours cannot be ignored. It cannot be softened. It cannot be erased. It cannot be contained in small rooms or small minds. Because when you go calm, something ancient moves through you. Something that remembers every moment you were underestimated. Something that remembers every time you held back out of politeness. Something that remembers every attempt to mold you, mute you, manage you, make you forget the dangerous simplicity of being your full self. That calm is not weakness, it is clarity. It is the moment you stop trying to convince the world of who you are and start being who you are. It is the moment the mask falls off, not from your face, but from theirs. Your calm is the moment they realize they misjudged you. Your calm is the moment their instincts scream before their mind can catch up. Your calm is the moment they understand that whatever script they rehearsed for dealing with you no longer applies. Because calm is your metamorphosis, rage can be dismissed as emotional, tears can be dismissed as sensitivity, raised voices can be dismissed as immaturity. But calm is a declaration. Calm means you've already decided what they don't want you to see. Calm means you've crossed a threshold they never prepared for. Calm means the savage inside you is no longer chained, not because you released it, but because it stepped out on its own. And this is the part that terrifies them. Your calm is not empty. Your calm is full of knowledge, full of awareness, full of the truth you stopped pretending you didn't know. Your calm is where your power finally breathes without restriction. Your calm is where your presence becomes undeniable. Your calm is where people finally feel the weight of everything you've endured, everything you've mastered, everything you've survived. The moment you go calm, you become something they can't interpret. And people fear what they can't interpret more than anything, because interpretation gives them control. Interpretation lets them categorize you, soften you, shrink you into something manageable. But when you go calm, you stop giving them anything to hold on to. Your stillness becomes a mirror reflecting all their insecurities. Your silence becomes a doorway they're afraid to walk through. Your neutrality becomes the very thing that exposes their chaos. And suddenly they find themselves speaking too quickly, explaining too much, smiling too wide, because they feel the shift in the atmosphere that only you can create. You know that shift, the one where time seems to slow, where your thoughts sharpen, where your intuition expands to fill the entire room. The moment you feel more awake than anyone else there. The moment you feel the truth of every person standing in front of you. The moment you feel the edges of every lie, every insecurity, every attempt to disguise fear as superiority. That is the moment the savage inside you is not unleashed by force. It is revealed by clarity. And clarity is the one thing they hoped you'd never reach. Because clarity ends manipulation. Clarity ends power imbalances. Clarity ends the little psychological games people play when they think you don't notice. Clarity ends their ability to hide behind fake confidence and rehearsed arrogance. Clarity ends the illusion they've been clinging to. The illusion that they know you, understand you, control you, predict you. But the truth is, they never did. They only understood the version of you that was still asleep. They only understood the version of you that doubted your own intuition. They only understood the version of you that hesitated long enough for them to feel taller. But the moment your calm arrives, that version disappears, and suddenly they're left standing in front of someone they cannot decode. Someone who doesn't react the way they expected. Someone who sees through the facade they built. Someone who doesn't flinch at their attempts to provoke insecurity. Someone who doesn't respond to their attempts to regain control. Someone who stands in a stillness so powerful, it reveals the fragility of everyone else in the room. That's when they feel it in their bones, that unmistakable, primal recognition that you are not someone who can be shaken by shallow minds. And it terrifies them, because they've watched you grow without understanding how. They've watched you absorb pain without collapsing. They've watched you learn without announcing it. They've watched you walk through fire without burning. They've watched you survive storms that would have destroyed them. And worst of all, they've watched you rise quietly, without theatrics, without validation, without begging for acknowledgement. You became powerful without anyone giving you permission. And that is the kind of power people fear the most. Self-generated, self-sustained, self-realized. Somebody got too close once, remember? Someone who thought you were harmless, predictable, soft. easy to figure out. And then, without warning, they touched the edge of your truth and recoiled. They saw the razor behind your patience. They saw the fire behind your silence. They saw the intelligence behind your restraint. They saw the boundaries carved in steel. They saw the history in your eyes, the kind of history that creates warriors, not victims. The kind of history that builds savages, not fools. The kind of history that cannot be erased by anyone's opinion. And the moment they felt that truth, even for a heartbeat, they changed around you forever. Because once someone feels the savage, the guardian, the force, the presence, they can never pretend you're ordinary again. Their instincts won't let them. Their fear won't let them. Their memory won't let them. They may try to act normal, speak normally, pretend everything is fine, but their energy will always betray them. They will always tread lightly around you. They will always watch you more closely. They will always keep a safe distance from the part of you that shook something loose inside them, and they will never admit it. But you know when someone has felt your power. You know it from the way they speak to you now, the sudden respect, the hesitations, the calculated politeness, the way their voice lowers or their eyes avert, the way they become cautious, careful, measured. They're not doing it out of admiration, they're doing it out of fear. Fear not of harm, but of revelation. Fear that you see the truth of who they are. Fear that you understand them better than they understand themselves. Fear that you're no longer someone they can deceive. This is the kind of fear that makes people behave strangely. Excessively polite, overly defensive, awkwardly distant, uncomfortably attentive. It's instinct screaming, warning them that your presence touches places inside them they are not ready to confront. And the wilder part, you didn't provoke anything. You didn't unleash anything. You simply stopped suppressing. You allowed your real energy to breathe. And that alone was enough to tilt their entire perception of you. That alone was enough to remind them that they misread you. That alone was enough to expose their arrogance. That alone was enough to wake something ancient in your spirit. That alone was enough to shift the entire power dynamic in your favor. And now you stand here, calm, clear, awake, no longer bound by their expectations, no longer controlled by their narratives, no longer fooled by their masks. What comes next is not destruction. What comes next is illumination. The illumination of your power, your presence, your potential. The illumination of a self that no longer apologizes for its strength. And the illumination of a path that only reveals itself to those brave enough to stop shrinking. Because once you stop shrinking, everything around you must expand or crack under the weight of who you truly are. And they feel that. Oh, they feel it in the way your energy settles into the room like a force of nature reclaiming territory. They feel it in the way your silence suddenly has gravity. They feel it in the way your presence starts bending conversations around your center instead of theirs. They feel the shift even if they don't acknowledge it, because the body always tells the truth before the mind can lie. And now their body speaks louder than ever. The stiffness in their jaw, the flutter in their chest, the uneasiness in their breath, the subtle tension in their shoulders when you walk by. These are not coincidences. These are confessions. Confessions of fear, confessions of recognition, confessions of instinct, shouting what their ego refuses to admit. That you are not someone they can predict or confine. You are not someone whose boundaries they can test with impunity. You are not someone who bends to pressure disguised as concern. And you are certainly not someone who stays small for the comfort of those who fear growth. Because your growth was never gentle. Your growth was forged in fire. Through betrayal, through solitude, through disappointment, through every moment, life tried to convince you that silence was safety. But silence became your training ground. Solitude became your sharpening. Every insult, every doubt, every underestimation became fuel for the transformation that now stands unshaken before them. They never understood that while they were trying to weaken you, you were being tempered. While they were trying to control you, you were becoming immune to their tactics. While they were trying to box you in, you were learning how to break every wall without lifting a single hand. That's what terrifies them now. The realization that you became powerful without their permission. You became powerful without their validation. You became powerful without their support. And worst of all, you became powerful while they were too busy underestimating you to notice. They thought you were predictable. They thought you were fragile. They thought you were manageable. But people who mistake your restraint for weakness always collapse when they encounter the truth. That restraint is not fear. Restraint is mastery. Restraint is focus. Restraint is the weapon of someone who knows exactly what they're capable of and doesn't need to display it to prove it. And the moment you stepped into that mastery, something inside them cracked. Not because you harmed them, not because you threatened them, not because you raised your voice, but because your existence now forces them to confront their illusions. They can no longer pretend they are above you. They can no longer pretend they understand you. They can no longer pretend they can control the narrative. Because your awakening rewrote the entire story. And everyone who once doubted you now feels the pressure of a truth they can't deny. You are not someone who rises quietly. You are someone who rises inevitably. And inevitability is what they fear most. Inevitability cannot be delayed. Inevitability cannot be argued with. Inevitability cannot be dismissed. And you in this moment have become inevitable. The world can no longer ignore the shift taking place inside you. Your mind sharpened, your energy expanded, your presence deepened. And the savage they once feared is no longer hidden beneath layers of doubt. It stands behind you like a guardian, unblinking, unwavering, untouched by the noise of the world. This is where everything changes. Because awakened power does not move the way suppressed power moves. Awakened power does not chase validation. Awakened power does not beg to be understood. Awakened power does not plead for acceptance. Awakened power simply exists. And in its existence, it disrupts ecosystems built on insecurity. Awakened power is the silent earthquake beneath fragile foundations. Awakened power is the mirror that forces people to see their own limitations. Awakened power is the truth that no lie can stand against. And awakened power is exactly what you've stepped into. Now watch what happens next. Watch how the same people who dismissed you start orbiting around you. Watch how their tone shifts. Watch how their boundaries wobble. Watch how their certainty dissolves. Not because you demanded anything, but because your presence alone reveals the hierarchy they pretended didn't exist. You stand taller without trying. You speak quieter, but hit deeper. You walk through rooms without forcing anything, yet everything rearranges itself subconsciously around you. They don't know how to process it. They don't know how to defend against it. They don't know how to live with the reality that the person they once overlooked is now the one they quietly fear disappointing. And fear changes people. Fear makes them careful. Fear makes them observant. Fear makes them respectful in ways they never offered you before. But this respect isn't gifted. It's extracted by instinct. Instincts bow to power long before the mind accepts it. And right now, their instincts are kneeling. They felt the savage the moment they got too close. They felt the fire beneath your calm. They felt the depth beneath your silence. They felt the truth beneath your restraint. They felt the intensity beneath your stillness. And once someone feels that truth, it never leaves them. The memory stays carved in their intuition forever. You are not who you used to be, not because you changed, but because you returned. You returned to the strength you were conditioned to doubt. You returned to the intuition you were told to ignore. You returned to the power you were taught to hide. You returned to the version of yourself that existed long before the world tried to rewrite you. And this return is not temporary. This return is your evolution, an evolution they can't stop, can't slow, can't negotiate with. And as you evolve, you begin to understand something they never wanted you to realize, that the power they feared was never the kind that comes from dominance or aggression. The power they feared was the kind that comes from self-possession. The power they feared was the kind that comes from clarity. The power they feared was the kind that comes from a person who knows exactly who they are and refuses to shrink even 1 inch. The power they feared was the power of someone who no longer apologizes for existing. And now that you know who you are, the world has to adjust. People have to adjust. Energy has to adjust. The narrative has to adjust. Because you no longer fit into the mold carved by their insecurities. You no longer fit into the role assigned to you by their fear. You no longer fit into the box built by their expectations. You have expanded beyond every attempt to diminish you. And expansion is irreversible. You have no idea how powerful you are, but they do. They always did. And now, finally, you feel it too. And once power is felt, it cannot be unfelt. Once truth is remembered, it cannot be forgotten. Once the savage awakens, it cannot be put back to sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens of controlled chaos, sovereigns of psychological warfare, renegades who learned long ago that survival is an art and dominance is a science, welcome back to the arena you were never supposed to escape. Today, we are not here to celebrate some minor victory or half-hearted transformation. Today we are here because you did something none of them, not the critics, not the pretenders, not the self-appointed gatekeepers of ambition, ever imagined you'd pull off. You didn't join their precious little game, you mastered it. You didn't walk into the city, you took it hostage. And now the whole damn skyline is trembling because you're shutting down the entire ecosystem with a move so precise, so surgical, so uncomfortably brilliant that the architects of the system don't know whether to admire you or file a complaint with the universe for allowing you to exist. Let me ask you something. Do you feel that pulse? That voltage humming beneath your ribs like you swallowed a power plant? That's not adrenaline. That's the sensation of someone who realized, finally, unapologetically, that the rules were written by cowards who never expected a mind like yours to show up. Most people wander through life hoping the game will treat them kindly. They pray for opportunities, beg for validation, plead for someone to hand them permission slips to be great. Meanwhile, you watched all of that nonsense unfold with the kind of stillness predators have before impact. You studied the grid, you learned the angles, you tracked the patterns, you observed how the city breathes, how the system manipulates, how the weak cling to illusions, and then you rewired the entire blueprint behind their backs. And that's what terrifies them. Because you didn't come in swinging wildly or announcing your intentions like some theatrical villain desperate for attention. No, you moved like a shadow with a doctorate in strategy. You walked in quietly, looked the game dead in the eye, and said, "Oh, this? I thought it would be harder." And the moment you did, the system shuddered. Because systems don't fear rebels. Systems fear masters. Systems fear the one person who stops participating. Systems fear the one player who realizes the board only exists because they keep showing up to move pieces around. You see, the city was designed to contain dreamers, not unleash them. It was built like a psychological labyrinth, mirrors to confuse you, detours to distract you, sirens to seduce you into complacency. Most people run through it blindfolded, bumping into walls, calling it destiny. But you memorized the maze. You identified every false exit. You spotted every trap disguised as a reward. While the others got drunk on the illusion of progress, you dissected the structure until you found the weakness that nobody, not even the self-proclaimed masterminds, noticed. And once you found it, you didn't expose it. You didn't warn them. You didn't negotiate with the system. You grabbed that weak point like a handle and pulled the entire city into your grip. That's why everything's shutting down. Not because you're trying to cause destruction, but because the foundation wasn't strong enough to withstand someone who actually sees the truth. When power meets clarity, collapse is not rebellion, it's inevitability. Think about this. Every empire, every structure, every hierarchy eventually faces a single question. What happens when someone refuses to play by the psychological script? And right now, the city is facing that question because of you. They designed this environment for predictable minds, for citizens who follow instructions, for souls content with tiny victories and carefully rationed achievements. They didn't anticipate someone who would decode the machine, break into the control room, and sit down in the operator's seat like it always belonged to them. You didn't just level up, you evolved out of the game's jurisdiction. And here's the beautiful part. You didn't do it out of rage or desperation or spite. You did it because your spirit outgrew the old architecture. There comes a moment when the cage stops feeling like imprisonment and starts feeling like irritation. A moment when the mask you wore to survive becomes too tight. A moment when you realize the game isn't challenging enough to contain your intelligence anymore. And that moment, that snapping point of internal clarity, is exactly what turned you into the threat the city whispers about now. Let me paint this picture for you. The game wasn't scared when you started. It wasn't scared when you failed. It wasn't scared when you struggled, crumbled, rebuilt, restructured, and rose again. The game was scared when you stopped needing it. Because once you detach emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, the game loses its influence. You stop responding to bait. You stop reacting to distractions. You stop participating in performances designed to keep you predictable. And once predictability dies, power shifts. That's when you became the problem the city can't solve. You're not just shutting down the city in the dramatic, apocalyptic narrative sense. You're shutting it down psychologically. You're pulling the plug on every system that depended on your compliance. The moment someone with your potential stops absorbing the city's illusions, the matrix flickers, the machine overheats, the guards panic, the manipulators lose their script, because everything they built was designed for a version of you who no longer exists. The city is not collapsing because you attacked it. It's collapsing because you outgrew it. This is the part that rattles them the hardest. You didn't dominate the game by force. You dominated it through comprehension. Understanding is the final form of power. Once you understand something deeply enough, you can dismantle it without breaking a sweat. You can bend its rules without effort. You can slip between its gears like smoke and short-circuit the entire engine. They think you're being reckless, but you're being inevitable. Picture the skyline flickering. Picture the traffic freezing mid-movement. Picture boardrooms going silent. Picture manipulators losing control over the very people they used to puppeteer. That's what happens when one person wakes up fully. Your awakening created a chain reaction, a systemic malfunction that the city wasn't designed to survive. The city depended on you being unaware of your own leverage. But awareness is a dangerous drug, and you overdosed intentionally. Let's go deeper. When you truly master the game, you stop fearing collapse because you realize collapse is a doorway, not a punishment. The old world falling apart is not chaos. It's clearance. It's space. It's demolition that makes room for a structure worthy of you. Most people cling to systems because they fear uncertainty. But you wield uncertainty like a conductor's baton. You turn unpredictability into an advantage. You treat disruption like oxygen. That's why the city can't handle you. You're not just breaking norms. You're redefining them. You're not bending rules. You're dissolving them. You're not escaping the system. You're rewriting the operating manual while the system watches helplessly. And let's not pretend this transformation was accidental. You earned this through pressure, through pain, through observation, through losses that were actually data, through experiences that taught you what the city tried to hide. Every time someone underestimated you, you collected the information. Every time someone dismissed you, you stored the pattern. Every time someone tried to limit you, you mapped the boundary. You used everything, every insult, every setback, every betrayal, as intelligence for a much bigger operation. You weren't growing, you were sharpening. So now the city watches you walk through its streets with a presence that interrupts gravity itself. You don't have to announce what you're doing. Your energy does the announcement for you. People sense that something has shifted, that someone has slipped out of the simulation and is now walking freely through its infrastructure. You don't just intimidate individuals, you intimidate systems. Your silence is louder than their authority. Your detachment is more dangerous than their surveillance. Your clarity is more lethal than their rules. And the funniest part, you didn't even come here to destroy anything. You came here to exist on your own terms. The destruction is simply the side effect of a power that refuses to shrink anymore. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that you no longer fit inside it. You're operating from an altitude where the city's laws can't reach you. And the higher you rise, the more the city destabilizes. Because the city relied on you being grounded, predictable, restrained. But you stepped into a psychological stratosphere where their limitations cannot breathe. You're not shutting down the city because you're angry. You're shutting it down because you're done pretending. You didn't join the game. You placed the entire city in checkmate without touching a single piece. Your existence is the move. Your evolution is the threat. Your awareness is the weapon. And now, the city watches helplessly as you dismantle everything they thought was permanent. And here's the part they will never admit out loud. They always sensed this moment was coming. Every time you outmaneuvered a situation you weren't supposed to survive, every time you walked away from a trap without a scratch, every time you saw through manipulation that was designed to blind entire groups, they felt it. They felt the system bending around you. They felt reality glitch slightly when you stepped into a room. They felt the game lose its grip the moment you stopped playing by instinct and started playing by insight. You didn't just rise, you shifted the gravitational field. And now everything in the city pulls toward you, shaking, recalibrating, panicking because the center of power is no longer where they placed it. Understand something. When you master a system built to suppress you, your ascent becomes a structural threat. Not because you're destroying anything deliberately, but because your presence forces truth into places designed to hide it. You expose the blueprint simply by existing. You illuminate the cracks without lifting a finger. You destabilize corruption by refusing to kneel. They built this city on illusions, money, status, hierarchy, fear, and you shattered every single one by doing what nobody expected, thinking clearly. Humans fear clarity more than chaos, because clarity destroys excuses. Clarity exposes the invisible chains. Clarity forces people to confront the role they played in their own imprisonment. And you walk with clarity like it's oxygen. That's why the city trembles. The citizens feel a shift in the atmosphere, something silent but undeniable. They look around and sense an invisible presence moving through the streets. Your presence, not loud, not theatrical, but sovereign. You don't need noise. You don't need a platform. You don't need a spotlight. Your aura alone is an announcement. The city knows when someone has stepped out of the simulation. When someone stops being predictable, the system starts dying. Because predictability is the oxygen the city breathes, and you suffocated it the moment you stopped responding to its illusions. This is what they never understood. The game isn't about winning, it's about outgrowing. Winning keeps you trapped inside the board, fighting for trophies designed to distract you. But outgrowing dissolves the board itself. You stopped chasing achievements and started chasing truth. You stopped seeking acceptance and started seeking alignment. You stopped performing for the crowd and started operating for your own evolution. That's when the game lost control of you. That's when you became the anomaly the system wasn't coded to contain. People think shutting down a city happens through riots, chaos, rebellion. But the real shutdown begins internally. The moment you reject the identities they forced on you. The moment you abandon the desires they planted in your mind. The moment you step outside the narratives they programmed into society. Everything collapses. The system relies on your agreement, your participation, your belief. Once you withdraw those, the machine stutters. When the main power source unplugs itself, the lights go out. You didn't destroy the city, you unplugged from it. Look back for a moment, not to dwell, but to witness the transformation. There was a time when the city convinced you that the game was bigger than you, that you were one small piece in a massive, unshakable structure. But now you see the truth. The structure was paper-thin. The walls were imaginary. The limitations were inherited, not chosen. The city wasn't powerful. You were just asleep. And once you woke up, the entire architecture lost its authority. When you strip illusions away, structures built on manipulation collapse instantly. You walk through those streets now like someone who knows the codes, the shortcuts, the blind spots. Like someone who understands every psychological trick the system uses to keep people chasing a life they don't want. And that's why people look at you differently. They can't put their finger on it, but they know something in your energy carries a warning. Not a threat, an inevitability. A quiet hum of, I don't belong to your script anymore. And people who don't belong to the script end up rewriting the story entirely. Do you realize what kind of power that is? To exist in a world that no longer has access to your mind. To walk through a system that can't manipulate you anymore. To observe the city's games unfolding and think, this is too easy. That level of psychological freedom turns you into a phenomenon. You become unpredictable, ungovernable, uncontainable. The city can't track you because your decisions no longer come from fear or validation. They come from sovereignty. And sovereignty is terrifying to any structure built on obedience. You didn't just take the city hostage, you took the narrative hostage. The game depended on you believing you needed it. Once you stopped believing that lie, the game crumbled like a forgotten prophecy. The people who once felt superior now study you like a puzzle. The ones who dismissed you now watch your every move. The ones who underestimated you now feel something foreign in their chest whenever your name is mentioned. Discomfort. Because your rise forces them to confront their stagnation. Your transformation shines a light on the places they refused to grow. But here's the twist. The city's panic isn't about you rising too fast. It's about you rising too intelligently. Anyone can climb. Very few evolve. And evolution is what terrifies the architects of the system. They designed the city to reward effort, not awareness. But awareness creates a kind of dominance no system can manage. When you see the truth behind the curtain, the puppeteer loses their power. When you understand the mechanics of control, the controller becomes irrelevant. When you become conscious of your own role in the structure collapses. Right now, you're walking through a reality that's cracking under the weight of who you've become. Opportunities bending toward you. People rearranging themselves around your presence. Old obstacles dissolving because they no longer match your frequency. The city feels like it's shrinking because you've expanded beyond its scale. You're too large for a map designed for small minds. Too aware for a system built on distraction. Too awakened for a world that thrives on sleep. And the city can feel it in ways words can't describe. Energy shifts. People hush when you enter. Conversations pause. Assumptions break. Patterns malfunction. You're not a character in their story anymore. You're the variable that ruins the equation. The force that destabilizes every structure built on the assumption that you'd remain ordinary. The city expected resistance. It expected rebellion. It never expected evolution. Because evolution cannot be stopped. Evolution does not negotiate. Evolution does not bow. That's why the shutdown is happening faster than they can understand. You're no longer feeding energy into the system. You're no longer contributing to its illusions. You're no longer participating in the rituals that keep everyone trapped. Your withdrawal is their downfall. You are the missing piece that held everything together. Now that piece is gone. The city is collapsing under its own artificial weight. Your absence is the shutdown. Your awareness is the blackout. Your transformation is the hostage situation. And the best part, you haven't even begun to apply pressure yet. You're only stepping into your new altitude. The air is cold, but it's clean. The perspective is sharp. From up here, you don't just see the city, you see through it. You see the cracks, the flaws, the hypocrisy, the hollow centers. And you know with a certainty that borders on prophecy that you're not here to restore anything. You're here to redefine everything. Not with violence, but with presence. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with force, but with truth. Because when truth enters a system built on deception, collapse is not aggression, it is physics. And collapse is exactly what's unfolding now, silently, beautifully, inevitably, as the city struggles to breathe in the new atmosphere you created simply by rising. This is the moment where your mastery stops being an internal shift and becomes a gravitational law. You're no longer a participant inside the city's framework. You've become the axis the city now orbits around, without understanding why its own seasons are changing. People who once walked with confidence now hesitate because they sense a rebalancing of power that no announcement, no headline, no broadcast could ever articulate. You're not shutting down the city by force. The city is shutting itself down under the weight of your awakened presence. Systems aren't collapsing because you attacked them. They're collapsing because you outgrew them so completely that their foundations can no longer accommodate your magnitude. You walk through the world now with an aura that twists the psychological landscape. Streetlights feel dimmer next to you. Conversations feel quieter in your proximity. Rooms feel smaller when you enter because you've eclipsed the mental boundaries that once trapped you. The city doesn't know what to do with someone who operates from altitude, someone who doesn't play for approval, someone who doesn't chase validation, someone who doesn't bow to fear. The city was engineered to handle rebels, activists, competitors, but it wasn't built to handle someone who simply transcends. You didn't break their rules, you made them irrelevant. And that irrelevance is what terrifies them. They built entire infrastructures based on the assumption that people would remain predictable, malleable, eager to obey. But now you stand here like a walking contradiction to everything the system counted on. You're not reacting emotionally. You're not bargaining for position. You're not fighting for rank. You're not scrambling for approval. You're moving with the detached confidence of someone who already won before the game even started. And when someone carries that type of internal certainty, the entire environment begins adjusting itself around their frequency. This is where most people misunderstand power. They think it's about assertion, dominance, aggression. But real power is atmospheric. Real power is silent. Real power alters reality simply by existing inside it. You've become that type of phenomenon, an unspoken equation the city is desperately trying to solve. They don't understand how you dismantled the game without participating in it. They don't understand how you took the entire city hostage without making a single demand. They don't understand how someone can rise without seeking permission. But that's because they've never witnessed what true autonomy looks like. You're not controlled by the external world anymore. You're sculpting it. Look around. Really look. Do you notice how different the city feels now? Not physically, but energetically. People look over their shoulders more. Authorities double-check decisions. Influential figures hesitate longer before speaking. It's because your presence has become a psychological event. You're not threatening them. Your very existence forces them to confront their own limitations. It reminds them that mastery is possible, and that the game they worshipped was a tiny arena compared to the battlefield you're operating on. Your transformation exposes the truth they never wanted to acknowledge. The city isn't powerful. The city is fragile, and you proved it by walking beyond its illusions like they were cobwebs. You took the city hostage the moment you realized you didn't need it. Because dependence is what fuels systems. When you withdrew your dependence, you withdrew the city's power supply. The city feels empty now because you stopped feeding it. It feels unstable because you stopped supporting it. It feels threatened because you stopped believing in the myths that kept everyone compliant. The city never feared losing control of you. It feared you realizing you were never controlled in the first place. This is the psychological takeover that happens when someone reaches your level. You stop chasing goals and start embodying inevitability. You stop running after opportunities and start creating gravitational pulls. You stop fighting battles and start choosing landscapes. You stop negotiating with the world and start directing it, not because you force it, but because your internal authority becomes irrefutable. Mastery isn't loud. Mastery isn't dramatic. Mastery is the moment the world sees you and instinctively recalibrates its expectations. They're recalibrating right now. The city is rewriting its assumptions in real time because your existence invalidates its previous calculations. People who once dismissed you now hesitate before making a move, afraid you see something they don't. People who once felt superior now shrink under the weight of your silence. People who once played with you now treat you like a variable they can't afford to misinterpret. That's what happens when someone rises into their higher identity. They don't need to speak. They become the atmosphere itself. And that's exactly why the city is shutting down. Entire systems built on arrogance and assumption are realizing they were never the architects. They were placeholders. You are the architect now. You are the blueprint. You are the rupture in the simulation. And whether the city wants to accept it or not, everything is reorganizing around you because you changed the frequency on which the game operates. Understand this deeply. When someone like you awakens, the city doesn't just lose power, it loses direction. The system depended on guiding you. Now it waits for you. Every eye that once looked down on you now looks up without knowing why. Every barrier that once felt insurmountable now crumbles before you arrive. Every whisper that once doubted you now repeats your name with caution. That's the psychological rearrangement mastery causes. You didn't take the city hostage physically, you took it hostage existentially, and yet you're still only getting started. This altitude you're stepping into is just the threshold. You're not flying yet. You're preparing. You're calibrating. You're shedding the final remnants of the identity that once tolerated limitations. You're aligning with who you were always meant to be, the version of you that the city hoped would never wake up. They didn't fear your ambition. They feared your clarity. Because ambition is something they can manipulate. But clarity is untouchable. Clarity is uncontrollable. Clarity is the moment the cage becomes transparent. And once you see the bars, you can't unsee them. You're moving differently now. You're thinking at velocities the city was never structured to handle. You've become a psychological supernova, quiet on the surface, catastrophic underneath. Not because you're destructive, but because everything around you was built on false assumptions. And truth is the most destabilizing force in existence. That's why your rise feels like an earthquake to everyone else. They're not responding to your actions. They're responding to your authenticity. They're not terrified of your power. They're terrified of what your power reveals about their weakness. But here's the irony they can't escape. Every time they try to understand you, they fall further behind. Because you're evolving at speeds that leave the city gasping. You're not walking the same blueprint anymore. You're transcending the need for blueprints entirely. You're not following the map, they're following your shadow. And they don't even realize it yet. Their panic isn't about losing control, it's about losing relevance. And as this shutdown accelerates, as the city's illusions flicker, as the old world gasps for breath, something new begins forming in the distance. Not chaos, not collapse, but reconstruction. A reconstruction orchestrated by someone who outgrew the game so completely that the only logical next step is to build an environment worthy of their altitude. This is the phase the city feared the most, because collapse can be explained away as an accident, or a temporary malfunction, or an unexpected chain reaction. But reconstruction announces intent. Reconstruction signals that you're not just tearing down the old. They now must confront the undeniable reality that you're building the new. A new framework, a new architecture, a new psychological law. And the architects of the old system have no seat at this table. They're spectators now, powerless to influence the direction of a world reshaping itself around someone they once underestimated. They hear the echo of their own arrogance coming back to haunt them, because they realize too late that the person they ignored is the very person rewriting the landscape they depend on to feel secure. You're no longer walking inside the city. You're walking above it, holding the strings that used to hold everyone else. But you're not using those strings to control, manipulate, or puppeteer. You're using those strings to dismantle the invisible machinery that kept people blind. You're cutting ropes that once tied you down and now bind others. You're clearing debris not for applause, but for alignment. Because your rise wasn't an accident. It was the natural consequence of someone refusing to live inside a shrinking box built by shrinking minds. And now that you've expanded beyond their reach, the city feels smaller, weaker, more artificial, like a stage prop collapsing when the protagonist steps off the script. Truth be told, you never belonged to their world. You tried, at first, to fit in. You tried to play by the rules, to follow their timelines, to entertain their expectations. You even tried shrinking parts of yourself just to avoid triggering their insecurities. But every step you took toward conformity felt like suffocation. Every compromise felt like betrayal. Every attempt to fit into their game made you more aware of how small the game actually was. And eventually, something inside you snapped, not in anger, but in certainty, in clarity, in inevitability. The moment you realized you were never meant to adapt to the city was the moment the city sealed its fate. Because once a mind like yours stops conforming, it starts creating. And creation is far more dangerous than rebellion. Rebellion challenges the old. Creation replaces it. Creation doesn't ask permission. Creation doesn't wait for approval. Creation doesn't negotiate. Creation declares. The city was prepared to contain your rebellion. They had traps for rebels, distractions for rebels, punishments for rebels. What they didn't prepare for was your creation. You weren't trying to overthrow their system. You were outgrowing it so profoundly that overthrowing it became a natural side effect. The city thought you were coming for its throne, when in reality, its throne was never even on your map. Now look at what's happening. People who once laughed at your vision now whisper your name with caution. People who once doubted your potential now watch your every move with anticipation. People who once tried to block your path now find themselves standing on foundations that crumble the moment you take a step forward. Because your footsteps are not random. They carry weight, direction, consequence. Every decision you make sends shockwaves through systems built on outdated logic. Every boundary you break becomes a blueprint for someone waking up behind you. Every truth you embody becomes a torch for those stumbling through illusions. What rattles the city most is not the destruction, it's the influence. Influence that wasn't given to you by the system, but taken from the system through sheer alignment. Influence that wasn't bought, earned, or inherited, but forged in silence, solitude, and self-awareness. You don't influence because you try. You influence because you exist in a state of clarity that people can feel even before they understand it. And clarity is contagious. Clarity is disruptive. Clarity is a declaration of war against everything built on confusion. That's why the city trembles. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're illuminating the fact that it was always weak. Let's be honest, they always suspected you were different. But suspicion is manageable. Suspicion can be ignored. Suspicion can be dismissed. What they never prepared for was confirmation. Confirmation that you weren't just different. You were operating on a frequency that invalidates everything they believed about hierarchy, power, authority, and dominance. You're not the king of their board. You're the architect of a new board entirely. You're not the player disrupting their game. You're the one they build simulations to predict and still misread every time. Because no simulation can track someone who refuses to repeat patterns. And that refusal is what made you untouchable. The city shuts down because predictability is its lifeline. The moment someone operates outside the expected timeline, the entire infrastructure panics. They rely on patterns to maintain control. But your evolution erased your patterns. You're not who you were last year. You're not even who you were last week. You're shedding identities at a pace that leaves observers dizzy. They try to project your next move, but projection fails when someone is no longer reacting, they're creating. They try to analyze your motivations, but analysis fails when someone operates from instinct, sharpened by awareness. They try to contain your influence, but containment fails when your presence is no longer physical, it's atmospheric. This is what mastering the game truly means. The game loses its effect on you. You don't feel its rewards. You don't fear its punishments. You don't crave its recognition. You don't internalize its illusions. And a person without those attachments becomes impossible to manipulate. Your detachment is their downfall. They can't bribe you with things you don't desire. They can't threaten you with outcomes you've already transcended. They can't distract you with illusions you've already seen through. You didn't beat the game. You dissolved the game by refusing to recognize its authority. And with that dissolution comes reconstruction. A reconstruction built not from ego, vengeance, or rebellion, but from necessity. When the old world collapses, something must rise in its place, or the void becomes a breeding ground for chaos. But you're not leaving a void. You're sculpting a new order, one that reflects your clarity, your discipline, your internal sovereignty. A world where truth outweighs tradition, where awareness outranks authority, where authenticity dismantles hierarchy. This is not the utopian fantasy they preach about but never practice. This is a restructuring born from someone who understands the cost of illusions and refuses to let them rule anymore. You're crafting a new reality simply by embodying what the old reality feared. You're showing people that power doesn't come from position, it comes from perception. That dominance doesn't come from control, it comes from consciousness. That influence doesn't come from noise, it comes from presence. And presence is something the city can't manage, manipulate, or mute. Presence creates its own gravity. Presence demands its own space. Presence reorganizes environments before words are even spoken. And you've stepped into that level of presence, effortlessly, because your evolution demanded it. This is why the city now looks at you not as a citizen, but as an event, a phenomenon, a catalyst, a disruption they can't prepare for, plan around, or predict. You're not a part of their structure. You're the force altering their structure. You're the reason old systems are glitching. You're the reason old narratives are collapsing. You're the reason old leaders feel their influence thinning. When someone rises into their true identity, they inadvertently expose everyone still hiding behind masks. Your authenticity acts like a spotlight, making everyone else's performance painfully visible. And visibility is the downfall of every manipulator. They watch you now with the kind of awe they reserve for natural disasters, not because you're destructive, but because you're unstoppable. Because you move with inevitability. Because you carry the energy of someone who refused to break and instead chose to transform. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to reveal everything. Reveal the fragility of systems. Reveal the weakness in hierarchies. Reveal the emptiness of titles. Reveal the illusions people depend on to feel important. You're not punishing them, you're awakening them. And that awakening is more disruptive than any form of revenge. But here's the truth they fear most. You're not even angry. Anger indicates attachment. Anger indicates investment. Anger indicates a desire to change the old world. But you're beyond that stage. You don't want to fix the old world. You want to build a new one. You want to construct a landscape where minds like yours don't have to shrink to survive. Where vision isn't mocked. Where clarity isn't punished. Where growth isn't feared. You're not destroying the city out of resentment. You're dismantling it out of irrelevance. The old world doesn't need to be hated. It needs to be retired. And retirement is exactly what you're granting it. A quiet, inevitable, irreversible retirement that happens naturally when someone outgrows the structure that once contained them. You're not shutting down the city out of rebellion. You're shutting it down because it cannot survive in an atmosphere of truth. You're not taking the city hostage physically. You're taking its illusion hostage, refusing to let it continue lying to the people who depend on it. They called you dangerous because they mistook honesty for hostility. But honesty is only hostile to people invested in deception. Right now, as your reconstruction begins, the world feels the tremors, the air shifts, the narrative changes, the energy tightens. People sense a breaking point approaching, not a collapse but a transformation so absolute that it redefines how reality must function. They sense a leader rising, not because you sought leadership, but because leadership is the natural consequence of someone who walks with clarity in a city addicted to confusion. You never wanted to take control. Control surrendered itself to you because it recognized authority in your stride. And that authority becomes the guiding pulse of this new world you're building. A world where people aren't shackled by illusions. A world where truth becomes currency. A world where awareness is strength. A world where identity is not dictated by the city but discovered within. This reconstruction isn't about creating a kingdom or a throne. It's about creating an ecosystem where you no longer need to shrink, and where others can finally breathe without fear of being crushed by expectations. The city doesn't understand this yet. They think your rise is a threat. They think your reconstruction is a takeover. They think your presence is a rebellion. But what you're doing is far simpler and far more profound. You're restoring balance. The balance that was stolen by systems built on suppression. The balance that was corrupted by egos addicted to power. The balance that can only return when someone strong enough to withstand truth becomes the foundation of a new environment. And that someone is you. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that its vocabulary no longer applies to you. Winning is too small. Success is too shallow. Dominance is too primitive. You're not interested in playing at all. You're interested in expanding, evolving, transcending. You're interested in creating spaces that match your altitude. You're interested in cultivating realities that match your clarity. You're interested in shaping a world that doesn't require you to dim your brilliance just to make others comfortable. This is what taking the city hostage truly means. Not physical force, not violent takeover, but psychological leadership so undeniable that the entire environment pauses to adjust itself around your presence. Not because you demanded authority, but because you became the only stable point in a collapsing world. The only one who sees clearly. The only one who operates from consciousness instead of confusion. The only one who mastered the game and then stepped beyond it. And now, as the old structures crumble and the new foundations begin forming beneath your feet, the city watches with a mixture of fear, awe, confusion, and reluctant admiration. Because deep down, beneath their defenses, beneath their denial, beneath their pride, they know the truth. You didn't just shut down the city. You didn't just dismantle the game. You didn't just take the system hostage. You became the system now. You became the axis. You became the one they study, follow, anticipate, avoid, admire, and fear all at once. You didn't join the game. You didn't beat the game. You didn't break the game. You became bigger than the game. And once someone becomes bigger than the game, the city has no choice but to bow. Not out of loyalty, but out of gravity. Your gravity, your altitude, your inevitability. This shutdown isn't an ending. It's the moment the city finally realizes who you've been becoming all along.